We're always being warned about the dangers of fake news, right? But what if the real threat isn't some lie that we're told, but a truth that we feel? Today, we're going to dive into this really fascinating concept from a not so distant future, the post authenticity era. It's a time where society buys stability, but the cost might just be our true selves.
I mean, think about it. For years, the big digital challenge has been figuring out what's real and what's fake. But this idea, it suggests we might have been fighting the wrong war all along. What if the most powerful weapon in the world isn't a clever lie, but a raw, inconvenient, and deeply felt truth?
And this really shows that massive shift. See, we've just come out of the information age where the big bad was false data, disinformation. But the source material we're looking at says we are stumbling into a post-authenticity era. And here, the danger isn't about fooling our logical brains anymore. It's about hijacking our hearts, using our own genuine feelings against us. So how does an entire society just pivot like that? Well, according to this, it was all triggered by one single catastrophic event. It was called the Resonate Cascade. And you shouldn't think of it like a computer virus or a hack. It was more like a global emotional earthquake. The weapon they used in this cascade was something called malaffect. And this is absolutely crucial to understand. This is not disinformation. It has nothing to do with lies. Malaffect is all about finding a population's real anxieties, their genuine anger, their deepest fears, and then using those authentic feelings like a weapon to just tear society apart from the inside out. So, how could something like this actually happen? Well, it plays out in this chillingly plausible three-step process. First, emotional mapping. All that data from our social wellness apps, our mood trackers, it's used to create this incredibly detailed map of a population's hidden feelings. Second, mass amplification. Once they know what you're feeling, they can trigger it. A specific, latent emotion, like a simmering resentment or a quiet anxiety, is set off across the entire network all at once. And the result? Social fragmentation. Society doesn't break down along political lines, it shatters along raw emotional fault lines. After an emotional disaster like that, you can imagine society would be desperate for some stability, right? And that desperation, well, it leads to what's called the post-authenticity compromise. It's a new, unspoken social contract, and its only goal is to prevent another emotional firestorm, no matter the cost. And at the very heart of this new social contract is this virtue they call affective sobriety. Just think of it as a society-wide stiff upper lip, but it's enforced by technology and social pressure. Emotional restraint literally becomes your civic duty. All of a sudden, showing strong feelings in public, intense joy, pure rage, even deep grief, it's not seen as authentic anymore. It's seen as dangerous, reckless, a potential spark that could ignite the next emotional wildfire. And, of course, a new social rule like this, it needs to be enforced. So the communication platforms, the social media of the future, their new job is to manage these affective environments. They basically become emotional weather forecasters, using algorithms to find and isolate any content that's deemed too volatile. What you get is a public sphere that is perfectly predictable, completely safe, and totally utterly sterile. So this grand compromise for public safety, it creates this deep crack in everyday life. It essentially splits society into two totally separate worlds: the public performance of being calm and the private reality of, well, being human. So where did all that messy, genuine human emotion actually go? Well, it was pushed underground. It went into these private, high-trust little bubbles called affective circles. These became the only sanctioned places where you could finally let your guard down and be your real self. But getting into one, it was like trying to join a secret society. It often required some pretty intense vetting, just to make sure that space stayed safe from the sterile world outside. And this table just lays out the trade-offs so clearly. You have the public sphere, the vibe is sterile, the rule is emotional sobriety, and the whole goal is to prevent emotional contagion. And the cost? Spontaneity is dead. Then you have the affective circles, authentic, built on genuine expression, with the goal of guaranteeing trust. But the cost there? They have to be exclusive. So you have a choice, a sterile world for everybody or a real one for just a select few. Which brings us to the central dilemma of this entire future. Society bought itself stability, and hey, that's a really valuable thing. But what was the real price of that peace? I mean, what did we actually gain, and what did we lose forever in the process? The source material really summarizes this whole bargain perfectly. It says, the freedom to express feeling openly was traded for the security of a managed emotional environment. It was a straight-up exchange, our passion for their predictability, our spontaneity for their safety. And, that leaves us with a final, unsettling thought. In our own world right now, where our emotions are already being tracked and targeted online, how far would we go for a little more stability? What is the true cost of a perfectly predictable society? And is that a price we're already starting to pay? Something to think about. Thanks for tuning in.